Hello, tall and small Astros. This is our bedtime story series. Today, my name is Mr. Larkin. Good to see you all. Um, Today, I have A Big Spooky House by Donna Washington, illustrated by Jacqueline Rogers. And I will do my best to make sure you can kind of see the pictures as they go along. A Big Spooky House. Once there was a man. He was a big man. He was a strong man. And he knew it. He went around picking fights with people just because he knew he would win. He never walked away from trouble because he figured he could always battle his way out of it. One day, the people of his village told him that the army needed volunteers. "Since you are a big, strong man," one of the ladies told him, "and you love to fight, you ought to see if you can fight in the army." He thought about that for a minute, and then he said, "Yeah." He put his belongings on his back and started out down the road. One day his neighbors hollered after him, "Hey, it's a long walk. Do you want me to give you a ride in my cart?" He was a big man. He was a strong man. He said, "I'll walk." As he was going across the countryside, he saw an inn. The innkeeper said, "Hey, it's going to rain this evening. Why don't you stop and stay in my inn for the night?" He was a big man. He was a strong man. He said, "I don't care if I get wet." He walked until the sun went down. As soon as the sky was dark, there was an incredible peal of thunder. Boom! The skies opened and the rain fell down in sheets. He was a big man. He was a strong man. He was a wet man. He didn't like it one bit. He was looking around trying to find someplace dry, when in a flash of lightning he saw a big, spooky house up on a hill. Now most people would have stayed away from that house. It was dark and the gate was falling down. The windows were broken and the paint was peeling. There were holes in the roof and weeds growing all around the yard. Most people would have stayed away, but not him. He was a big man. He was a strong man. He was a not gonna be scared by some spooky old house sitting up on a big spooky old hill kind of man. He went up to the door. When he reached out for the doorknob, the door opened all by itself. Creak! Now, most people would have left then and there, but not him. He was a big man. He was a strong man. He went right in. Outside, the place was falling apart, but inside it was beautiful. There was a red carpet on the floor, leading down a long hallway. Even though the windows were dark outside, there were candles burning in all of the candle holders. He looked around at the beautiful, dry, warm hallway and said, "Yeah." He followed the red carpet to the end of the hallway. There was a huge wooden door. He reached out to open it, but it opened all by itself. Creak! Now, most people might have been more than just a little frightened by this, but not him. He was a big man. He was a strong man. He went right into that room. There was a huge fire crackling logs. There was a huge stuffed chair facing the fire. In front of the chair was a table covered with lots of good things to eat. He just looked at everything and said, "Yeah." Now, some people would have been too terrified to eat, but not him. He was a big man. He was a strong man. He sat down and got to work. He had the table cleared in no time. When he finished, he sat back and put his feet up on a little stool. When he opened his eyes, the table had disappeared. He looked around and said, "Yeah." He fell asleep in front of that fire, fast asleep in that big comfortable chair until the clock on the wall began to chime. Bong, 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 bong. It chimed 12 times. The man jumped up and said, "What? What? Oh, it's just the clock." The door behind him opened and in came a black cat. Its fur was matted and dirty. Its eyes were as red as the fire. It came across the floor, scraping its claws across the wood. Its voice was thin and squeaky. But when it meowed, it walked over to the fireplace, jumped